So how did they come up with such a different opinion? Joining us tonight, Congressman Devin Nunes, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, member of the House Ways and Means Committee. And Congressman, great to have you with us. Let's start with two committees, intelligence committees, and coming up with diametrically opposed conclusions. Your reaction?
Well, I would say that, we have our report. I don't know how they did their report. You have to remember the Democrats in the House of Representatives also opposed our report. So, what do we agree on? We agree that 98% of that intelligence community assessment was fine. But the key is the fact that they used the dossier, which should have never been done, because now you go back and look of what the FBI and the intelligence agencies had in their possession, the Department of Justice. That's why I call this report now, I got only halfway joking, I named it after the famous Clinton Fusion GPS Steele dossier. I call this Obama's dossier because it was written right when Obama was leaving office. And that's and to me, that is a problem. So we went back there. It was put together in like 3 weeks. So just that alone, I think, is suspect. But what we found, Lou, is that the tradecraft was not up to snuff. And now the problem with Obama's dossier, with that intelligence community assessment, is it's either lies or omissions or both. So if the intelligence agencies had a plethora of information and didn't put it into an intelligence community assessment, how can it even be a true intelligence community assessment? So sometimes you just have to apply a little common sense to this. I don't know what happened in the Senate. You'll have to ask them. But we stand by our not only do we stand by what we found, but I would add this too, that one of our criminal referrals involves that intelligence community assessment, in that whether or not intelligence was manipulated for political purposes. And, we've sent that to the Department of Justice now, a year ago.
And do you think that anything will ever come of those referrals?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. But I just want, your audience to know, the House Republicans have not stopped this investigation. So no matter what Pelosi, she can have all the sub-zero freezers she wants with all the fancy ice cream. They can put out phony reports, do phony impeachments. Our investigation continues. And I've been very, very clear on this, that we are looking at the three dossiers, okay, which is the Steele dossier, Obama's dossier, and the Mueller report. So those three dossiers are reports. We're also looking to interview 3 Russian Americans. And we're looking at making additional criminal referrals, not only to, and I kind of look at this as 3 different investigations. You have what Durham's looking at. We have a U.S. attorney looking at that. We have a U.S. attorney in Missouri that's looking at whether or not the Mueller investigation was done appropriately or not. And then, look, we also need an investigation about why were all these things redacted so long by the Department of Justice and the FBI? Why did we just find out in the last few weeks what was hidden behind the Horowitz report in the footnotes? I mean, there's so much out there for the people that want to follow this. You have about 4 weeks of reading to do right now. And what ticks me off about it is that there was no reason for these to be redacted. And I want answers why these were redacted. So even, people are celebrating the fact that the Carter Page FISAs were put out. But what I can tell you, as we sit here tonight, there is still critical information that is redacted out of those Carter Page FISAs that the Senate, thankfully, the Senate did put those out. But we still need more of that declassified. There's too many things that are hiding from the American public. So the American public is beginning to see what we've known for a very long time. We're not counting on the Department of Justice. We're not counting on the U.S. Senate. We're not counting on Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in the House. We're doing our own investigation. And look, all we can do, though, and this is what frustrates people, we don't have guns, we don't have badges, we can't go and arrest anybody. But we're going to make as much of this known to the American people as possible, and we're going to hold people as accountable as we can, and we're going to make as many criminal referrals as we need to.
Well, Congressman, we appreciate profoundly what you and your colleagues are doing, and the importance of it is without question. However, we're also looking at what is now 4 years of foot dragging and absolutely an effort to run the clock out on all of this. And the agencies have been supremely successful in doing so with the help of those who are aiding and abetting them in the Democratic Party on Capitol Hill. And now I don't understand why the Attorney General would not declassify this material and put it before the American people going into the election this year, because the Democrats succeeded in stealing election, in my judgment, in 2018. By exactly taking on this nonsense with all of their so-called investigations, the special counsel, that all amounted to one thing: vindication and exoneration for the president, but not one single committee chair of the Democratic Party has paid a price at the polls.
Well, and I would add this, Lou, what Mueller's dossier was, the Mueller report, there's a whole bunch of lies and omissions in that thing too, which is why we're combing through all that, and we'll be making criminal referrals on the Mueller dossier. Remember, these are all the people that came in after the fact. They were going to come in. These were experts that came back to DOJ, back to FBI, some of the longest serving people that were tenured at the FBI that worked on this Mueller team. Well, now what we're finding out is there were not only lies and omissions, but also things that were held up from some of the people that actually served jail time, like George Papadopoulos. So this is not lost on us. But I think the point that you make is an important one, and that is that what they use this for, they're very clever, what the Democrats and the media, so the media are essentially their mouthpiece, 90% of the folks in the media. Essentially, it's like talking to the Democratic National Committee. I don't understand why so many of my colleagues even talk to these guys. You might as well just walk over into the front door to the Democratic National Committee and let them do the interview, for God's sakes. And and I don't even think President Trump should be taking questions from a lot of these guys. I just don't think they deserve even the right to ask a question, because they're just political hacks that are parading around as media. But with that said, to your point, the reason we are where we are today and lost the elections in 2018, this was weaponized by the Democratic Party and the media, to dirty up the president of the United States, to try to take him out. And in the process of that, they raised millions and millions and millions of dollars by poisoning the minds of millions of our American citizens. Poison the minds so that they would open up their wallet and give people money. That's why Republicans lost the House of Representatives last time. We were overwhelmed by tidal waves of cash where we had no ability to defend ourselves, because if you take the Democrats with the media, with a tidal wave of cash coming in from, what I think are really innocent Americans who really, really thought that, the Russians were controlling the Republican Party. As asinine as that sounds, because we know the truth now it was never the Trump campaign or Republicans who were trying to collude with the Russians. Guess who it was? It was the Democratic Party trying to collude, and the Clinton campaign trying to collude with the Russians.
And with that, we have to collect ourselves. That's a lot to ingest, and I have to tell you, I think that the American people have got it figured out right now. I think they know that they were deceived throughout the entire process, and I think that this is going to be a very fascinating election for the House and for the Senate, and of course for the presidency, and one that we owe you great credit for in making it so. Congressman Devin Nunes, always good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you, Lou.